All right, so thank you guys so much for coming. I'm sure there's going to be some more people coming on board, but we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to be talking about restock limits, and shocking that they're back. I was saying for a little while in the beginning of the year that I was thinking restock limits were coming back. I warned about the possibility of them coming back for Prime Day, possibility of them coming back for for Q4, but Amazon has purchased so much warehouse space that I started shifting a little bit and saying, you know what, I don't think that it's going to come back. They are starting to make a play towards trying to capture more of the market, trying to capture actually Shopify customers by doing buy with Prime, which is essentially they are targeting non-Amazon sellers and saying, hey, we will fulfill your inventory, use fulfilled by Amazon, even if you don't sell on Amazon and you never intend to sell on Amazon, we want to help you out with your fulfillment. And Shopify has recently fired some shots back at that and basically said, you know what, that's actually not allowed based on our terms of service. So they're warning Shopify users against fulfilling with Amazon. We'll go into a little bit more detail of that, but if you go to Amazon, SoStock.com/news, we are going to be publishing an article about that, all about Amazon and what they're doing with their warehousing, that type of thing. So Amazon, just right before we jump in, Amazon has launched something called Amazon Warehousing and Distribution, and that has been launched in conjunction with Restock Limits. So I think that's why Restock Limits are back, because they now want you to use their warehouse. I don't think it's because they're running out of space. I think it's because they're trying to take more of your money. It may make sense financially for you. It may not make sense financially for you to switch over to using Amazon's warehousing versus your 3PL. It depends on what your rates are. But that's just a little bit of context as to restock limits. Restock limits are back. Why are they back? And just to pre-frame, they've essentially told us in this action that they can bring back restock limits at any point. They could do restock limits through fourth quarter. They could stop restock limits at the beginning of the year. They could bring it back up at Prime Day. And so really you need to be prepared for the possibility of them bringing it back at any point and pulling the rug out from under you at any point. The people who really learned from 2020 and 2021, learned from all of this restock limit chaos and fundamentally changed their inventory processes are the people who are going to succeed in fourth quarter and onward. So the question is that going to be you, or is that going to be your competitors? And we're going to dive into what you need to know about restock limits, what you need to do right now before Q4 gets started, and the systems that you need to adopt to continue to successfully run your inventory, run your business, stay in stock, avoid holding costs for the future, and really to have that leg up on your competition. All right, we've got a question that's come in. Let's see if we can answer this question before we get started. I used to use FBA with Shopify. It was an integrated feature with the Shopify platform. Yes, so that is still being used by a lot of people. Amazon or Shopify has just recently come out. This is something that came out. Something that came out a couple of days ago. Is Shopify just announced this? So I predicted that this was going to happen. You may be able to continue to use that, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see how Shopify handles it, whether they're just saying it or whether they're going to enforce it. It's very, very interesting time. And again, Amazon Seller News, we put it out every Friday, and this is a topic that we are continually going back to, continually updating on, continually reporting on, and really commenting on it from an Amazon seller perspective, which It's actually one of the most fun things I get to do on a regular basis. So yeah, so hopefully that answers that question. And then we're going to just go ahead and jump on in. If you have other questions as we go along, type them in the chat or put them in the Q&A section. But let's go ahead and get going. So the return of restock limits, essentially, let's talk about what are those triggers that you have to pull, how can you manage things, and how can you avoid a Q4 disaster by adopting the right systems. So for those of you who don't know me, a little bit about me, my name is Chelsea Cohen. I've been selling on Amazon since 2014. I'm the co-founder and CEO of SoStock, which is an inventory management software, and have been immersed in Amazon inventory actually now for over 4 years. I've spoken to hundreds of 6, 7, and 8-figure sellers specifically on the topic of inventory and written a ton of articles, been on podcasts, really just very focused on the inventory, logistics, supply chain side of things, as well as the profitability side and how inventory and profitability are very closely related. So restock limits are back. We went over why we think this is, and now let's go ahead and just talk about what do we need to know, right? What do we need to know about restock limits? What do we need to do to prepare for Q4? And then what happens when Q4 hits? What's next? What can we expect? So I first want to go through how the Amazon algorithm works. You want to know how the restock limits work and what to expect. You need to know how the algorithm works. And this is something that we talked about in 2020, 2021. It bears repeating, just a bit of a refresher if you are a little bit new to restock limits and Amazon inventory. Amazon cares about essentially one thing. They care about sell-through. The faster they can move inventory, the more money that they can make. So the metric that you should really be focused on is sell-through. Sell-through influences every single metric of your inventory performance index score. Your inventory performance index score, generally, if you don't have a problem with it, you probably haven't noticed it, unless you had problems last year in 2021. But if you do have a problem with it, you definitely have noticed. So you need to keep your sell-through healthy because it does influence your excess inventory. It influences your stranded inventory, influences sell-through, and your in-stock rate also influences sell-through. So the definition that Amazon gives for sell-through and how they're calculating it is taking your FBA rolling 90-day sales, right, and dividing it by the average number of units you have available in fulfillment centers during that time. So if we break that down, let's look at the calculations. If you had 9,000 units of sales in 90 days, right, and you were holding 3,000 units at any given time in Amazon on average, that would be a turnover rate of 3. The number you would see in your inventory dashboard would be 3, and that would be a monthly turnover rate. You're turning over inventory once a month. If you had sold 9,000 units in 9 months, or I'm sorry, in 3 months, those 90 days, and you also held 9,000 units, that would be a sell-through rate of 1 or a quarterly turnover. So if you understand that, you can understand how important it is to be able to manipulate both numbers. You need to be able to move inventory quickly, sell your inventory. If you increase your sales, you will increase your restock, or sorry, your sell-through rate. If you reduce the amount of inventory you're currently holding at Amazon, you're also going to improve your sell-through. And that means smaller orders more frequently. So when we look at restock limits, we know that we have a certain number of units that we can have in Amazon, right? We have, based on our entire catalog, this is how much we're able to have. Right now, Amazon says 4 months. Everyone has 4 months. And they say, you know, that for the most part, this shouldn't be a problem for anyone except for, they named 5%. They said this will probably be a problem for 5% of you. I can almost guarantee that going into fourth quarter, we're going to hear from a lot more than 5% of the sellers on Amazon having it be a problem. So you want to increase your restock limits as much as possible. And you need to know that you have restock limits and then you have your utilization. And the amount of inventory you can send in is that gap in between. The difference between your utilization, how much inventory you're currently holding, and your restock limits. So utilization is a few different factors. You have your FBA available inventory, all of your incoming shipments, right? Your working shipments, in transit, receiving, and then any unfulfillable inventory. That is your utilization score, right? They're your utilization volume. Pending removal orders and reserved inventory have been said not to be included, but we've found that that's not true. Pending removal orders and reserve inventory are included in that calculation. So if you have that sitting there, that might be one of the reasons why your ability to send in inventory is reduced if you can't figure out why you're not able to send inventory in or as much inventory as you want. So when we look at the relationship, if we look at the amount of inventory that we're selling in 90 days and the average units available, that becomes our average utilization. So if we can reduce our utilization, we can improve our sell-through rate and we can start to see the restock limits increase. Here's a case study of someone who started really focusing on this. If you do start focusing on this, we're going to talk about some strategies to improve your sell-through, but it's a trigger for Amazon to show them that you're responsible with your inventory and that you should be, you can be relied upon to move that inventory that you're sending in. So they want to give you more space. So it's just basically a signal to them. So if you can focus on getting your slow sellers to start moving smaller orders more frequently, you can actually start seeing your sell-through rates come up. So you can see this person had a sell-through rate of 1 and was able to double it and increase in 3 months, increase his sell-through rate. So focusing on this in the next, I would say 6 weeks would be extremely important, this metric specifically. Let's talk about things that improve your restock limits. We have smaller orders more frequently, right? Being able to send smaller batches of inventory into Amazon and a more often. So maybe you've been sending 2 months worth of inventory, maybe you cut back to 1 month worth of inventory. Some people even got down to sending 1 week worth of inventory into Amazon on a regular basis. Increase sell-through, we talked about that, different ways to increase sell-through. Fulfilled by merchant. So fulfilled by merchant does contribute to your restock limits. This helps in a couple of ways. If we know that the amount of sell-through is the top part of that factor, and then the amount of inventory we have at FBA is the bottom part, we're adding more to this top number with fulfilled by merchant, because all fulfilled by merchant sales are contributing to this top number, but they're not adding to this bottom number because that inventory is not being held at FBA. So it helps to tip the scales by fulfilling by merchant. It also becomes a backup plan for you. It's something that I recommend. I've been recommending it since 2020 to not let Amazon be your only distribution channel, even if they're your only sales channel. Because if they don't check your stuff in, then you'll have no way of getting your inventory into the hands of your customers. And we'll talk about some strategies for how to mitigate some of the risk involved in letting someone have all of your stuff, right? Getting Amazon to be stuck with all your stuff and then them losing it. And then lastly is multi-channel fulfillment. So we talked about this. This was a tactic that was being used, and Amazon actually tried to bribe people last year with, if you fulfilled your other channels through FBA, they would include that sales velocity in your calculation and increase your restock limits. And they actually started bribing people into doubling their inventory limits overnight in third quarter in order to get them to plug their stuff back into Amazon, because they wanted to get Shopify's data. And that's what they're doing right now. They're trying to get Shopify's data. So this is something that will contribute to increasing your restock limits. But again, Shopify is warning people against this. And we're going to be, again, putting something out tomorrow about exactly what that is, and trying to pay attention to whether or not they're going to be repercussions. So I invite any of you, if you hear anything, go ahead and reach out to me. I do get some of my information via various different sellers. And so the more information people share with me, the more I'm able to share that with the community. And as I hear things, we will be putting that out into the Amazon seller news, and then just into the social media channels that we have. All right, let's talk about things that hurt your restock limits. Stock outs obviously hurt your restock limits and your bottom line. Having excess inventory, stale shipments. So shipments that maybe you're not really sending it in, it's just sitting there kind of hovering in your working status or in transit, but it's not being sent in. You want to make sure that those are not affecting your restock limits. So you should be aware that that's not something that you should be leaving in there. Slow sellers. Slow sellers are dragging down your sell-through rate. It's going to hurt your restock limits as well, but it's also going to clog up that space that could be reserved for best sellers. So now let's talk about what to do now. There are a few things that you should be doing. You should, one, those stale shipments, delete unnecessary inbound shipments. So go through and make sure that you don't have any unnecessary inbound shipments. Delete those so that they can stop counting against your restock limits. Flash sales. Take a look at inventory that you have that maybe you need to move it. Maybe it's been kind of a slow seller. And we'll talk about techniques and strategies to be able to find this information and to be able to come up with a very comprehensive plan for this. The other one would be liquidation. And I can tell you a few resources for liquidation. Removal orders would be another, removal or disposal orders. And then again, set up FBM. You can boost your sell-through rate. We talked about how FBM can boost your rate by contributing to your sales, but not contributing to your inventory at FBA. And then if you have a multi-channel fulfillment, again, that boosts your sell-through rate. That also can help. So for those of you who are not using Shopify, for those of you who are selling WooCommerce, you probably have a little bit of an edge up from Shopify if Shopify is going to start enforcing their supposed terms of service against fulfilled by Amazon, right? All right, let's talk about action steps for systems to adopt. So we're going to be implementing those things that we talked about, right, in the last slide. Now you need to start looking at completely changing the structure of how you do things in terms of your supply chain, logistics, and inventory. And some people might have adopted these strategies and these systems already from 2021. But if you haven't, these are some things that you need to start thinking with. One is faster FBA shipping times. So no longer adopting the slow boat to China strategy. You can send things via the slow boat to China, the slow boat from China, but labeling them, creating your FBA shipment and labeling those cartons before they get on the boat can hurt your restock limits, because they can clog up that space. If you have a finite amount of space that you're able to fill up and to send FBA inventory in, that shipment is going to be counted against you. And so if you've got inventory that's sitting at a 3PL, but you've got this shipment on this boat that takes, 30, 45 days to actually arrive, that's 30 to 45 days that you can't send your 3PL inventory into the warehouses. The next is called logistics flexibility. This is a strategy for backup planning. And we're going to go through what does that actually look like. I'm going to talk through a couple of slides on that. Another one is MinMax restocking. This is a strategy that helps you to automate the process of smaller orders more frequently, like we talked about. And then inventory-minded marketing, which helps you to avoid stockouts and also reduce your holding costs by reducing the amount of stale inventory that you have. So first, let's talk about flexible logistics. Flexible logistics is something that we've had people adopt it, and they've said it has helped them to avoid stocking out. This is all about having a plan A, B, C, and always being able to pivot no matter what goes wrong to avoid stockouts. I've started adopting the golden rule. This is an extremely important and expensive lesson if you have ever learned this before, and that's never let anybody have all your stuff. Same thing as don't put all your eggs in one basket. But when I ask people why they stocked out, someone stocks out, I always ask why. Usually it is because they let someone have all of their stuff. Oh, I sent my stuff fulfilled by, less than truckload to Amazon. They lost it, or it's just not checked in. 6 weeks, it hasn't been checked in. I put everything on a boat and the boat's stuck at port. Whatever it is, 3PLs. 3PLs can be an issue too. I have everything at my 3PL. They are backlogged and they're not replenishing my inventory. That's a problem as well. If you've got a 3PL, sometimes if they have a fulfillment arm, right, they're doing FBM and they're doing replenishment, they could get so backed up during the holidays that all they do is replenishment or fulfillment to customers, and they backlog on their replenishment. So that's happened before. I've known people who have had their stuff held hostage at their 3PL. All of these things can be problems. So being able to diversify is important. The question is, how do we diversify without it costing us an arm and a leg? So let's say you're going to send a container worth of inventory. You order a container worth of inventory. What you should consider doing, and what some smart sellers are doing, is ordering a container plus an extra month or an extra 2 months. And then they'll pay the 30% down on the entire order. They'll send the ocean freight, and then they'll leave the other 1 to 2 months worth of inventory with their supplier. They'll negotiate with their supplier not to charge them storage for, let's say, up to 3 months. Don't charge storage. They don't charge storage. They just store it for you. So you're not paying storage fees on that. And then they also can be, you can negotiate a lot of the time to only pay for what ships. So the 70% you pay for the final portion of that order, you could only pay for the ocean freight, and then the rest of the inventory that's sitting there, you won't have to pay that 70% until it ships out. So that helps you to better control your cash flow, to keep your holding costs down as well. And then you cross your fingers and hope that the ocean freight arrives on time. But if it doesn't, you have that extra stock there to air freight over. So that gives you the ability to only incur the air freight cost if you absolutely have to. And if you don't have to, then you don't incur the extra cost. Then you send to FBA, send to your 3PL. Then you'll want to continue that same strategy locally. So you've got inventory at your 3PL, you send it less than truckload, full truckload, but don't send all of it. Because if Amazon gets it, holds it hostage, doesn't check it in, you've got problems. Send it small parcel delivery as well. So if you absolutely have to, so you hold inventory at your 3PL, you send most of it full truckload or less than truckload, and then you have that extra inventory in case your inventory is not checking in, you can send it small parcel delivery. And then you have your backup fulfilled by merchant as well. Let's talk a little bit about min-max restocking. This is a strategy that's been adopted by some top warehouses. And I actually toured a facility a few years back that they do print on demand books, and they do min-max restocking on a weight-based system. So if they have to reorder ink or paper, when it gets down to a specific weight, that minimum weight will trigger them ordering more paper, and they'll order it up to the max amount. So let's say, for, just example, they have 100 tons of inventory or of paper as their minimum, and then they have to stock up to 500 tons, whatever it is, of stock. They're constantly working within this range, so they never stock out, and then they never over order. They figured out what is the best amount of inventory to order to keep me in stock. So that would be a system that you would want to consider adopting for your FBA inventory. You would say, I don't want to go below 45 days because we get into geo ranking issues where if you don't have enough inventory, Amazon starts reducing your ranking in certain areas where you're light on inventory. So you want to keep, let's say, 45 days worth of inventory, and that could be your minimum. And then your maximum would be, let's say, 90 days, or let's say 60 days. Whatever it is, if you want to do smaller orders more frequently, you can adjust that down. So maybe you've been doing 90 and now you're going to adjust it down to 75 days, 75 days and 45 days. So it's going to create a recurring cycle. It also creates not just streamlining in terms of your systems and increasing sell-through. It creates a way to finally pass certain tasks on to your VAs. Because a lot of times people don't pass inventory tasks on to their VAs because they don't have that structure. They always do it, like I think someone on the call said that they do inventory in their head. If we're doing inventory in our head, we can never pass the task off, or at least a portion of the tasks off, to our VAs. VAs should be able to prepare things, send them to us for approval, and then we make the call, because let's be honest, it's a lot of money that you're putting out there, but some of the prep work should be able to be done by your VAs, by inventory managers, or whoever you're working with. Some of the benefits of min-max restocking, we talked about this: optimizing inventory levels, reducing stockouts as well, because you've got that additional minimum stock, which is also known as buffer stock or safety stock. And then reducing high FBA storage fees, because you're not keeping excess inventory in your warehouse. And then you're systemizing your reorders and your transfers to easily delegate that task. All right, we're going to dive into inventory management, the new role of inventory management. Inventory management has been, for the most part, has been a very reactive role. It's been a very reactive position. Inventory is running low. I need to go and create a new order. We need to move it into being proactive, especially because of restock limits. We have the dual problem of stockouts hurting our restock limits, and also having excess inventory hurts our restock limits. It also blocks us from sending best sellers in. Then our best sellers stock out, and then we get into this vicious cycle. I think everyone who has been selling for more than a couple of years has been familiar with how this has impacted things. So adopting inventory strategies and a structure for your inventory processes can be extremely valuable in actually moving into safeguarding yourself from restock limits problems. because you've taught Amazon that you are good at this and that you are actually optimizing your profit. These strategies optimize profit along with optimizing your restock limits. So it's called inventory-minded marketing. This strategy works with the marketing team and the inventory team. And it essentially is a series of reports. These reports have extremely important data. The marketing team has to give data to the inventory team that the inventory team then acts upon. And the inventory team gives data to the marketing team, which helps to inform the marketing team as to the plan to put in place. First, when we started talking about inventory-minded marketing, it was that marketing has a tendency to stock out the inventory. You learn a really cool new strategy at the last event that you went to. You start to implement it, you don't check it against your inventory, and you stock out. So all of that momentum that you've built up actually is damaged by stocking out. You're also wasting money. If you're spending additional money on ad spend, you could have made more money if you had not run that aggressive ad campaign, made more on every single sale, and then potentially avoided a stock out. So the marketing plan needs to be sent to the inventory team. Then we're going to talk about the inventory reports and what each of them is used for, and really that you should be adopting these reports moving into the fourth quarter, so the next 30 days, implementing this strategy as a way of ramping up and preparing for fourth quarter. And I'll give you a little bit of a hack as to how to access these reports as quickly as possible, and then be able to put them in the hands of your marketing team quickly. We do have a question. Let me go ahead and this is from Esteban. I was able to send in 2,400 units about 3 weeks ago. I had already ordered 1,000 units back in May. Just as I was about to create a resupply order in FBA 2 weeks ago, I could not send in the full 1,000 units. They lowered my limit to 1,000 total, and I still have I have 10 units in reserve. Wow, that's frustrating. All around the time Amazon sent out emails about limit decrease for Q4. I'd gone out of stock and did not close my listing so I could sell through the reserve inventory units. Wondering if that caused me to get such a drastic change in my limits. Very frustrating. They did it while I had already ordered my second inventory months ago based on the limits that I had. So I'm not sure if that necessarily would do it. I wouldn't say that would do it. It's possible that limit was based on your last 4 months worth of sales. And if you launched your product recently, it's possible that you just don't have enough sales history for them to think that it warrants enough sales, because they're looking at that full period. And that's the frustrating part, is they're looking at the full period. So if you stock out, they're not giving you the benefit of the doubt. We adopt something called daily adjusted velocity, which means that if you're looking at an average, you're going to adjust it based on what you actually had in stock, your in-stock days. Amazon doesn't care about your in-stock days. They don't care that you stocked out. If you were stocked out for a month, they're not going to include that month in the inventory. So he says a sale was May 2022, sold out in mid-August, figured it was a high demand product, also brand registered. Yeah, so it's possible that stock out was what made it more difficult for you to have inventory, because that history, May, June, July, and then stock out in August. So we have a little bit less than 4 months worth of inventory. If 2,400 units was your main order, that's possibly why. So it's really frustrating. One of the workarounds that you do have, this is where Amazon gets sneaky. Forgot to mention this. Amazon does have a workaround for you to get rid of restock limits and have no restock limits. And that's using Amazon's warehouse and distribution program. Currently, it's invite only, but keep an eye out for it. Maybe search for it and see if you have an email inviting you to it. But they are essentially becoming your 3PL. Their rates are, like I said, decent. We've actually written about it. If you go to Amazon seller, SoStock.com/news, if you scroll down, it's one of the recent ones, talks about Amazon warehouse and distribution, that program, and does a rate breakdown. So you can look at what your rates are and what your rates would be for the holidays. But if you want a way to circumvent restock limits, consider opting into that program. Again, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Keep your 3PL and send some stock in that way. It will help you to get around some of that. So that is an option for some people. And he says, thanks. Very, very welcome. All right, so let's go ahead and finish this out by talking about inventory-minded marketing. And then we'll talk about how to get some of these reports. And actually, we're going to be opening up to some people to be able to work one-on-one to figure out, to align a plan of inventory-minded marketing to prepare for Q4. So we'll announce how to get that offer at the end of once we're done talking about inventory-minded marketing. So like we said, inventory-minded marketing starts with marketing giving data to inventory. This is a spreadsheet that we have. It's a free template that is at SoStock.com/tools. And this spreadsheet will allow your marketing team to fill in data that your inventory team can then use to plug into the inventory plans. So the first thing is, what velocity are we looking at? Are we looking at 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? For example, launching that new product, you wouldn't want to look at 180 days of inventory because you weren't selling for 180 days. You would want to look at something more narrow. Or if you have a very volatile product, you want to look at something more narrow. Let's say the last 30 days worth of sales, because previously you weren't selling very much because it was an off season. You can also look at manual velocity. If you launch a new product and you think you're going to start by selling 10 units a day, you plug that in manually. If you're planning for the holidays, you would potentially want to look at last year's sales. What were my sales last year? Let's use that data. So once you have the sales velocity, then you start looking at the possibility of adding a trend. You can look at year over year trend. You can also look at, let's say, month over month or quarter over quarter. Say you're launching a product, you want to figure out what that growth trajectory is. You can start adding trends on top of the sales velocity. So that would be indicated here. If there is, let's say, a PPC campaign, and you feel that based on this PPC campaign, I think I'm going to increase sales by 10%. That's my target. Plug in the 10%, and you can see whether or not that SKU is going to be able to sustain 10% increase in sales until the next order comes in. Then we have lightning deals. This could be really any sales event. Could be an email campaign, an influencer campaign. You pick a date range that you're running this campaign and how many total units you expect to move, and that data gets plugged in. We figure out, based on when our orders are coming in and how much inventory we have, can I actually support that sale? Then seasonality, picking a date range. Let's say summer, you have a summer product and you think that your sales are going to increase by 50% because you're selling barbecue equipment, for example. That would be another thing that you would want to have in your marketing planner. So again, this is available at SoStock.com/tools. You can download this, and there's a video tutorial along with it to show how it works. So let's talk about the reports that the inventory team should be sending to the marketing team. The first report would be the stock out risk report. This report is used to help the marketing team have foresight to see if a product is going to stock out, and is it possible to avoid that stock out. So if it's, let's say 8 days, it's going to be stocked out for 8 days. That sounds like it could be avoidable, right? We look at stock out days, we look at what's the date of stock out, and we say, okay, I think I can avoid an 8-day stock out. I've got some aggressive ad campaigns. I'm going to turn those off, keep some of the regular ad campaigns, make sure that I don't lose my my rankings, but want to slow them down a little bit. I'll profit more because I'm spending less in ad spend. I'll make more money and I'll avoid a stock out. So that is a strategy that you can adopt by taking the stock out risk report, sending it to your marketing team, and then they can put that into their marketing plans. We have a stock out risk report, and again, we're going to be able to give you some access to stock out risk reports. If you don't have a stock out risk report, the calculation that you're going to want to use is to look at your total inventory and then divide it by your daily velocity. And we say daily adjusted velocity because you want to make sure that it's your true velocity. It doesn't include your stock out. It doesn't include your sales spikes that aren't going to recur, like Prime Day, for example. You're not going to have Prime Day, right after you had Prime Day. And that's going to give you your days of stock, and then take that number of days and push it out into the future to see, based on, a timeline, what is that stock out date going to be. So that's a stock out risk report. Then we have the slow sellers report. And the slow sellers report is essentially those products that they aren't quite losers yet, but they're getting close. They are at risk of becoming losers. It would be a range, a minimum and a maximum daily adjusted velocity. Let's say between 5 and 20 units a day is the range for your particular business. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to send this to your marketing team, and that tells your marketing team, hey, we need to market these. If you don't market these are going to really start clogging up your storage space, could start blocking your best sellers, start dragging down your sales velocity, decreasing your IPI score, collecting holding fees, right? Storage fees. Every single month, we're spending more money on this product. Every single month, these products are becoming less and less profitable. So we need to ramp this up, and we need to move these out the top so that they're selling above 20 units a day. That's what the slow sellers report is for, and that's what your marketing team should be using it for. Ethan asked, where can we find these reports through Amazon? So these reports are not available through Amazon. We have these reports on SoStock. You can create the reports yourself if you wanted to create a spreadsheet and figure out those calculations, but you can create them in SoStock. And so we've got free trial, a 30-day trial, that even if you wanted to just go in and grab those reports, plug in your API, grab those reports, and then you decided that you didn't want to adopt SoStock, you could grab those reports and put your plan together and use that for the preparing for the fourth quarter. So that's my best offer for how do you get these reports quickly so that you can develop your fourth quarter plan. And again, anyone who decides to do that within the 30 days, the 30-day free trial, I'm just jumping ahead of myself because the question came through, but within that 30-day free trial, you can jump on a call with one of our specialists and develop out a plan for inventory-minded marketing. You would set things up, you would get those reports, you would develop that plan. Whether you decided to move forward with the software or not, you could at least have your plan put in place and work with someone live one-on-one to be able to do that. So I'm going to provide a link for how you can learn more about how to get set up with that, and then get inventory-minded marketing working for you within this next 30 days so that by the time Black Friday, Cyber Monday comes, you're in a much better position to be able to send inventory into Amazon so you can avoid stocking out during this important holiday season. So that's the slow sellers report. The slow sellers report is that range of minimum and maximum. And if you don't grab hold of this and the slow sellers start to fall out the bottom of that report, they're going to end up in the liquidation report. The liquidation report is a minimum, right? That's going to be the minimum right below your slow sellers. So you have your slow sellers, let's say, lowest is 5 sales a day. Below 5 sales a day would be your liquidation report. And that's the inventory that you just need to get rid of. You need to develop a plan to figure out how you're going to get rid of these slow sellers that are going to be costing you a lot of money. They're costing you a lot of space. They're dragging down your restock limits. And they're really becoming a liability to you. And if you are, a lot of times we're just, they're in the background, they're problem products, and we don't know what to do. So devising a plan, there are a couple of things that you can do. I would recommend trying to sell through them on Amazon. You're going to get a lot more bang for your buck by selling through on Amazon because it's going to contribute to that sales velocity, and it's going to help to boost your sell through, which will help to boost your restock limits. So don't right away try to remove this inventory. Removal is expensive. It's gotten a lot more expensive this year, especially if you have large lightweight products. It's expensive. Liquidation is also expensive. If you have to liquidate, I'll tell you a couple of ways to liquidate, but my first recommendation is to do some sort of a flash sale. You can look at outlet deals. If you go in an inventory dashboard, outlet deals can be offered to some of your products that have excess inventory. So check out outlet deals, do some other sort of a flash sale campaign, drop your pricing, or do an email campaign. People have also bundled slow moving products with best sellers. It has at times helped to increase the sales on the best sellers because of that additional value add and help to move that additional inventory. So that is an option as well. If that fails, and you have to do a removal order, you have the ability to do removal orders, disposal orders, liquidation orders. You can do a liquidation through Amazon. So check out their liquidation program. But then there's also companies that will do liquidation where you send via removal order, you send inventory, and they will take your inventory, check it out, make sure it's good, sell it on, let's say, eBay or some other website, and then split the profit with you. So whatever they make, they'll split the profit with you. And so some of these are back-track.com. Another one is, what is it called? It's returnsworldwide.com. So check these companies out. They do these processes for liquidation. And then we have lastly the FBA Overstock Report. The FBA Overstock Report, a lot of the products from your slow sellers or from your liquidation could often show up at the Overstock Report, but your best sellers can also show up here. This would be, for example, anything over 90 days. Let's say I want to know that anything over 90 days, this is an overstock. Maybe you decide 75 days, whatever you decide it is. 90 days is a good top baseline for overstock. So you say anything over 90 days, I need to just figure out a way to get rid of it. The marketing team now has to go and anything on this list, we need to aggressively market it. We have excess inventory. Could be one of two things. It could be a liability because it's costing you money. Every month it's costing you money. It's also taking the place of storage where your best sellers could be selling, and it could cause stock out. So that is another liability that it could create. We want to take overstock inventory and move it from being a liability to being an actual asset. And the way that you do that is to think differently about inventory. That inventory could actually be used to help buy ranking, say buy ranking, or buy restock limits. If you want to increase your restock limits or you want to increase your ranking, you want to do it both at the same time. Take that overstock inventory, develop a plan to target, let's say, a specific keyword that you want to go after, and really drive to that keyword, target that specific keyword, and increase your rankings by using that excess inventory. So you're getting your inventory to come down, you're increasing your sell-through, which increases your restock limits, you're increasing your rankings, and you're avoiding those additional storage fees and clearing out space for your best sellers. So this is a very valuable report that you can use to take a very aggressive approach to handling a lot of different things within your business, right? You do one thing, which is market this aggressively and very targeted way, and it improves a lot of things across the board. The other thing that you would want to see that becomes kind of exciting, I think marketers should find this exciting, is if you see something on the Overstock report, so you know you have excess inventory, and then you see something on the same product on the slow sellers report, and you know you have to boost that product up the rankings, increase the traffic so that it goes into a more viable range. The overstock inventory for that product can help you to buy your way off of that list, right? Buy that SKU off of the slow sellers list with the overstock inventory. So when you see them on both lists, that should be a signal to you that you have a strategy actually already brewing for that product. All right, let me know if you have any questions. That is the end of my presentation on restock limits, inventory, all of these concepts that we talked about. We have implemented into the SoStock software. I'm going to just share a little bit with you about SoStock. SoStock is an inventory management software. We do forecasting. We have complete timelines for the entire year of your business. You can add your marketing plans, your inventory plans, really developing inventory-minded marketing. These reports that we're talking about, they can be generated, developed, customized, and generated from the software itself. We have purchase orders, work orders, tracking across your warehouses, warehouse transfers, and we work a lot with sellers. We've always been education first, very much into developing and training people on how to build their inventory. Our team helps to consult. We do onboarding for every single person who signs up to SoStock. And we have, like I said, a free trial. Our free trial will come with consult. If you sign up for one of our demos in the next 24 hours, you'll get consult specifically on how to develop out an inventory-minded marketing strategy. So that's, again, for anyone who signs up for one of our demo calls within the next 24 hours. If you sign up for a demo call, we'll go ahead and we'll make sure that someone can work with you on your inventory-minded marketing strategy for helping to boost restock limits getting into the fourth quarter. Here's a couple of reviews. You can find us on the Amazon App Store. We've been around since 2019. We've got forecasting. Someone says forecasting is hands down the most accurate, really, because you can customize everything to your specific business. We solve 99% of inventory forecasting challenges. Getting rid of spreadsheets. I know someone on here is on spreadsheets still. Being able to make more money. Really, the inventory-minded marketing strategies will help you to make and keep more money by avoiding stockouts and avoiding those excess inventory and storage fees. Cutting down your time is extremely important to us. We really help with that. The tracking of your business and really we've worked with a lot of different sellers to develop this software. So truly listening to our needs. We take the feedback from from all of our sellers and really work to add it into the software so that we can build the best software possible and continue to advance and improve things. As Restock Limits came out, we actually have a tool specifically designed to help you to figure out how to send inventory in based on your restock limit restrictions. So as soon as we heard Restock Limits came about, we dove in and built that out. And as far as I know, we're the only software that actually has a Restock Limits solution built into our software. And then our team, like I said, our team is very helpful. They can help out with strategy. And so it's not just about how to build out the tool, but how do you actually build out those reports to create a system for improving your restock limits. All right, we do have a question again. Personal restock limits audit, looking over what can you do to going into fourth quarter to improve your situation so that your restock limits can start coming up. What is that plan that we can help you to put in place? Includes a 30-day free trial. If you go to SoStock.com/connect, you can sign up for one of our demos, but what I would love to have you guys do is to book a call with one of our specialists. He will be able to explain to you what the SoStock platform is, and then work to set you up with your call, with the consult call with our inventory specialist. So let me go ahead and I'm going to drop that link in here, and it's this OneSub link. Go ahead and you guys can go ahead and sign up if you wanted to sign up and book a time with him right now. He's available. I've got a couple of questions here. Let's go ahead and we'll dive into some of these questions. But again, reach out to us if you have questions. If you have questions, you can talk with Agassi. He'll be able to answer any questions that you might have, and then get you set up with how to get your personal restock limits audit. Let's see, Esteban says, do you think the supply chain crunch we all went through on the height of the pandemic has substantially improved or only slightly improved? I'm talking supplier lead times and shipping. I do think it's substantially improved. We haven't heard too many nightmares in terms of things not arriving on time. We have heard there is some delay. There are some problems with Amazon check-in times. I think the check-in times are going to be a little bit more of an issue. There's not as many labor problems as there were before, but there have been strikes in some places. If you sell in the UK, there's a lot of striking going on in terms of delivery. Their Royal Mail is striking a lot. So looking out for some of those things. We report about those things on the news. But there's not as many problems. I will say you start having conversations with your 3PL. Your 3PL is going to know more than almost anybody else regarding shipping, the best way to ship. That's how I have learned everything, that I have learned in terms of what's happening right now. And one of the things that you'll want to ask them about is live unload. Are they using anyone for live unload? Because often what we'll do as sellers is we'll basically place our order for our shipment on Amazon's platform, and we'll pay for it through there, or we'll set it up through there, and we won't necessarily ask them. And Amazon owns a lot of these trailers, and so they can do whatever they want with them. They can tell the driver, drop that trailer off, and then they don't check it in for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. When you have a company that is not under those constraints, when you're working with your 3PL and you ask your 3PL, hey, who do you have who can do a live unload? Live unloads are more expensive, but they're more reliable. And that is essentially when what you have is you have a person who is driving the trailer up and they're unloading it directly into the warehouse, and they're driving away with an empty trailer. That's what a live unload is. A company called Uber Freight does it. There's other companies that do it. I would ask your 3PL, who are they using for live unloads? Can you get a live unload? Can I get a quote? What is the price difference? And see, is it worth it to you to pay the extra price to send it in, depending on how much time you have to waste to spend actually trying to get your inventory in. Ethan asks, so hopefully that answers your question. Ethan asked, does SoStock work for my other sales channels or just Amazon? We are about to launch Shopify. We should be launching it by the end of this month. So within the next couple of weeks, we're in our advanced beta for Shopify. If the sales go through Amazon, so if you have other channels that are plugged in to fulfill through Amazon, we can track those things. We can't track anything that doesn't go through Amazon, or like when we launch Shopify as well. So Walmart, we're not tracking. We do have warehousing. So if you're selling and fulfilling at different warehouses, you can upload, you can do a bulk upload, let's say once a week or once a month, to account for that inventory. It's just, we don't have Walmart yet. We will be getting Walmart. We will be getting, like I said, Shopify is coming very, very soon. But we are in all of the Amazon channels right now. So Amazon worldwide. So Australia, Japan, UK, US, Canada, Mexico, all of those we are in right now. And if you need help on how to structure your other sales channels so that you can best track them and best account for the inventory, we can walk you through how to set that up. You can talk to one of the inventory specialists who can help you with that. All right, I think that is all of the questions. Again, I posted the link to set up a call, a demo call with one of our specialists. So if you want to get the personalized restock limits audit, go ahead and book a call with him. Book a call within the next 24 hours. We'll be looking at whose names come through, and then you'll get the 30-day free trial, but that'll also come with a specialized session with one of our specialists to go over your restock limits plan. All right, again, that's go.oneshub.com/Agassi would be where you would go ahead and book that. If you wanted to connect with us, SoStock.com/connect. And yeah, follow along if you're, get the emails from us. Check out every Friday, we have the inventory, or we have the updates, the Amazon seller news updates, which we're going to be reporting on this Shopify terms of service buy with Prime situation and what that means. We've reported on the Amazon warehousing and distribution. So if you want to know about that program, go ahead and jump in there, Amazon, SoStock.com/news, and read up about that. A lot of interesting stuff going on, especially in the Amazon, Shopify space, the battle between them, as well as the restock limits and warehousing and inventory space. All right. Thanks so much for sticking around, and hope to see you on one of the next ones. Thanks, guys.